Daniel Paulus, and welcome to the Invisible Obvious podcast, a place for conversations to explore greater awareness, communication, and accountability for leaders. Today, I couldn't be happier to talk with Brian Lewis. Brian and I met working at Busch Gardens, the old country in Williamsburg, Virginia, a number of years ago, really. We don't want to tell you how many exactly, but we've known each other a long time. And we started on very similar career paths, but Brian has found some really tremendous success in the real estate industry in New York, and he knows I couldn't be prouder of him, so we're going to talk about that today. So welcome, Brian.
Hey, Dan Paulus. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm so excited I got your time today because you are a super busy guy. But we've talked about this off camera, this idea of great leadership and specifically what it means in the real estate industry. So I want you to unpack that a bit, but share with our viewers and listeners, how did you get to where you're at now? Tell us a little bit of your journey. I know it intimately, obviously, but just.
I moved to New York right out of college, went to school in Williamsburg and William and Mary, and then I came right up to New York at age 21 and did some acting training and this and that, did a lot of TV commercials and
you did,
worked
yeah.
in hotels and carried rich people's bags and decided I wanted to be one of those rich people.
There you go.
Fancy bags. But I realized early on, Dan, that I don't know if I really love to act as much as I wanted to be famous.
Right.
That's kind of what I think drew me into that. And it's funny because that's not I think it's maybe a little bit more evolved now to know that. If I had known that then, I wanted to be an artist. I said that, but really at the end of the day, just wanted to be famous. So I had to separate the two and say, okay, I think I've got some decent chops. I did some good work. Do I want to continue down that avenue? The chances of becoming famous are like a lottery ticket. And do I really want to grind as an actor? Do I love acting enough to grind it out?
Yeah, that is a great way of starting this story because, you just brought to mind like the Matthew Perry story. He was the same motivation, really wanted to be famous. He wanted to be an actor, but there was this really motivation behind him of wanting to be known. And then you and I have both been gifted to know a lot of famous people, a lot of people that have somehow got the right lottery ticket, right? And are certainly super talented, but that shaped, I know, my journey a lot. With one of your mentors, seeing him perform on Broadway and talking about what that actually was like and being a Tony winner and at a very young age, realizing it doesn't get any easier, as you get later in this game. In some ways, it only gets harder. Just
always pay their bills.
Right.
And so you can't just go work at Applebee's with your Tony Award.
That's true.
You're limited to what you can do, although you're unlimited in your talent. It's a hard quest. So I watched those mentors, really those heroes, and they couldn't always do what I thought would be just fundamental keys of success. And we both have mutual friends, even in TV and film, who are doing very, very well. And even they have moments, where they're always looking for the next hustle, right? That's it about life, right? It's just, you just keep hustling because you can't stop, right?
But I think what you're getting to is at a point you saw an opportunity with real estate. And I love this story about how that started for you because it was very humble beginnings. You might want to share with us, right?
Sure. Yeah. As all good stories are, I think. But I came from a lot of love. I came from a lot of support, and I was lucky for that. But I had to do it myself. It was like, great, go do that. You want to go to college? Go do that. You want to go to New York? Go do that. Mm-hmm. Have fun. Don't ask for money.
Right. Well, I mean, you shared your dad was in sales. He had a lot of different jobs,
For sure.
Moved around. He showed you what sales was about on some level, but there was, that's a tricky game too sometimes, depending on what industry you're in, right?
Well, that's it. We moved around a lot, which I think helped me because I went to 4 high schools. So I was always trying to figure out the best qualities I had the year before and try to figure out, I'll play that up a little more. Like, I'll be that guy this year. But that was learning how to play a different room and different, that's helpful.
Yeah.
So when I was carrying bags here in New York and auditioning and doing commercials and some soap bits and this and that and the other, um, there was an actor strike, right? Not the one we just went through, but another one, a commercial actor strike, which really hit home because that's what I did. So I found myself carrying bags. I was 30 years old, and I knew I had a decent head on my shoulders, and I had just done a Head and Shoulders commercial. Remember that? This
Yeah.
was amazing. And I had a lot of money from that I thought was a lot of money, and it was amazing. But I couldn't audition. I couldn't cross that picket line. So I thought, what am I going to do? I'm just carrying bags. I'm 30 years old. It was a bit of an early existential crisis, which I thought that was the midlife crisis. It wasn't. I was 30.
Right.
But I went to a group called the Actors Work Program. It's a wonderful group, and they're now called the Entertainment Community Fund, and they helped a lot of artists through COVID and still do. I love the group. I went there and I said, help me. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So I filled in a bubble sheet. Do you remember those?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So did that, and she looked at it and went through it, and she said, I think real estate would be really good for you. And I went, huh, I know what that looks like. We had moved a lot. I knew what a good agent looked like and what a bad agent looked like. And I thought, oh, that's it. When the Actors Fund said, how about real estate? I thought, sounds good to me. So they paid for my classes because I didn't have that much. And I've since paid them back, but I started working in 99 and did everything I could to hustle. And sometimes I feel like it hasn't changed much, meaning my approach, Dan.
Right.
Like, it's still get up, grind, do it again. But I love it. I like
Right.
what I do. I like to complain about it sometimes.
Well, I know, but I will say that your office is much nicer now than the typewriter stand you were working on from in 1999, as you shared.
Sure. I was given a typewriter stand at my first company because I had no contacts.
Right.
I knew nothing but poor actors. I wasn't bringing money to the table. I had hustle.
Right.
And you can't always teach hustle. And I find that is the one thing that I'm super glad I'm hardwired for hustle. I have my moments, guys. I have my lazy moments, but I must say I'm gonna shout out somebody you and I both know, Dan.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
There was a director when we were kids working in a freaking theme park, which was some of the most joyful moments in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So much fun. In the 80s to be in theme park, like that was
the halcyon days of theme park.
Late 80s.
Yeah, that was the best of what. Yeah,
it was the best. So that director, Don Cox, who came from education and came from that world, I just had never been around any energy like that ever, or brain, or joy, and just always looking for something provoking and trying to. But what he instilled in us in that young age, I was 17, I think you were 19, maybe 18.
Yeah.
The do it again, do it again, do it again. Yes, you can do a cartwheel upstairs, up a set of stairs. Who told you could? Go. Let's go. Let's go. Rehearse. Do it. And he brought joy to it. It wasn't miserable. And you wanted to be better, and you did it. And doing 5 shows a day of the one-man show, and then on your day off doing another show because we weren't union actors.
Right.
We had a ball, and I would do it again. And I got to tell you, there's something about the DNA of that. And there's other things in my life, little markers like that, where one of my first apartments in New York was 77 stairs high, 5 floors up of a walk up. And I to this day, I can sprint into a townhouse and go right up the stairs. And that helps because you don't want to be the broker who's like, oh, good. Oh, you guys go ahead. No one's going to buy that.
Right.
So just little things like that, they get in your DNA, like the work ethic, like the grind, watching my dad go for it, creating something out of nothing every January 1st, the new year. You got nothing. Start over. Let's go and grind. And there's some joy in that. There's something very, it's my blue collar roots and my family, they were all farmers, right? My dad's dad and my mom's family. So they just got up and grinded. And I do that. I do. No, I add a workout to it, and I, try to take care of myself. And I have two little girls, but those fundamental building blocks of no one owes you anything except respect. You have to get up and do it because no one else is going to do it for you. No one is coming. No one is coming to save you. We all have love in our lives, I hope, but no one is going to give you anything. No one is going to discover you. No one is going to we all have these dreams, and that's amazing. And those dreams, I feel like, are sort of roots, but you have to find your water, your nurturing, your good soil, your sunshine, your everything. You have to do that. And sitting around waiting for someone to save you or make you, and you, when you're doing something that you love and you're doing it well, I think there's nothing more beautiful than to watch that in action. And I don't care what that is.
Right.
That could be a nurse, crossing guard, an Oscar-winning actor, a pilot, anyone. So your barista, anybody who is in the zone, being good at what they do, being present. It's just so attractive, right?
Yeah. And it's that work ethic and it's that desire that I know it motivates you. And it's a great kind of segue to my next question for folks on the podcast is, the work I'm trying to do with this invisible obvious coaching is around awareness, right? And integration. So you're already starting to talk about this a little bit, but maybe unpack a little more. How did you become more aware as a leader of your own business of what your strengths were and how you could leverage those and the things you needed to work on?
Sure.
And then the next part of that question is then at a certain point you brought a team on board, and I'd like you to be able to talk about what that started to look like as a leader of your own kind of entrepreneurial business. So
I think it's all been rather organic, Dan, and nothing was fast. Like my name and meteoric rise, quick, do not go together.
Oh, you've been at this for 20 years now, and you've been at a level of of productivity for a number of those years. But I'm sure the first 4, 5, 7 were building, right? Is it?
Sure, but you just have to get out there and do it, right? It's like some people they get so caught up in, I need this, or I have to have the right this or the right that, and then I'll start. And they get caught up in this sort of all the preparation or the right class, and then I'll start. You're never ready. You're never ready for your relationships. You're never ready for your career to take off. You're never ready for a kid. I'm not saying you don't have to go at things methodically and with purpose. You do, but you're never going to be ready. So get out there. Like, you don't have to wait for the right everything. So if all you're going to attract right now is rentals or something very modest, just go be the best in that and do 2 or 3 and build on it and leverage it and build on it. It's literally farming, guys. It's planting seeds every day and watering those seeds and letting the other field rest and building and harvesting. And it just starts doing that methodically like that and having the discipline to do the things right. Write the thank you notes, show up in person, be on time if you can. I need to work on that. Because I'm an eternal optimist. So I think everything can be crammed into 1 hour, right? Mm-hmm. Short-sighted and rude sometimes.
Right.
But it comes from a place of optimism. And I think that it's important to make sure that you're just nurturing and doing. And guess what? None of it's sexy. None of it. But I assure you, coming from the arts, there's nothing sexy about the dancer who's up every day at 5 and puts their leg up on a bar and makes their body do things it's not supposed to, or the gymnast who's doing the same, or the ice skater, or the hockey player, or the runner. Or, we love the Oscar speeches and we love the gold medals at the Olympics, but we don't see the unsexy part, right?
Yeah, the discipline.
Day in, day out, every day.
The discipline, like you talk about. And I've admired you on multiple levels as you've built your business over the years. because the discipline has been at the core, really. And to your point of planting seeds, I've heard you talk about, yeah, I just sold this apartment for the fourth time in the same building.
For sure.
Now that there's some unique aspects about selling real estate in New York that don't exist other places. So you were wise enough to choose a really opportunistic market that has expanded over the last 20 years in a place where there's a lot of movement, right? But I guess, I guess I'm curious, like when you're out speaking at real estate conferences or doing interviews or things like that, which I know you do a lot of, is that what you're telling people? Is it, start slow, find your niche, build, discipline, and then develop your portfolio of contacts and see that organic growth? Is that kind of the first piece?
One aspect of it, because you also have to be the big game hunter, right? Because you're not just out, who wants to shoot big game? No one, but I'm going to use the analogy. But if that big game walks into my farm, I'm going to take care of it, right? That's mine. Like I'm going to take the shot.
Right.
So be ready for those extraordinary moments. But it's the farming that's going to get you there. Be ready. So when the opportunity comes, you're as ready as you possibly can be in that very moment. That is what you want. And you're never fully ready, and you're never going to think you're ready. And sometimes I go on these national news shows where I have to talk, or I'm like, I know what I want to say. I'm never ready. I wish they'd call me next week when I had a haircut, or because I need it. But things like that. But you're never ready. Just go and be as ready as you possibly can. And I think that there's something human about that, and people respond to it. And be ready. And if something comes your way that you feel ill prepared for, you're super not ready, find someone that is and take them with you, like team up, right?
Yeah.
I think those kind of things are important. I always had really hard ass teachers that, it's like the classic movie teacher, like the love to hate teacher. Like, you know what I mean? It's hate, you end up loving them, but they're the tough as nails. And I always had those types of mentors. My dad is that guy. My professors in college that mattered, those were those people. Don could be a hard ass in his own smiley way. He was exacting, and he loved talent. So he just wanted to take us and run our motors as fast.
Yeah.
We were his Ferraris, and he was driving.
That's pretty. There's discipline at the core. You're laying your groundwork for your business, and then you're being open to a new opportunity, right?
Every opportunity.
Right, every opportunity. So
I tell you, today I had to sign NDAs, non-disclosures, for a very, very important blah, blah, blah. Everyone in New York is important, right? So I don't care what industry you're in, you're important. Right. And if you're paying my bills, you're real important.
Right.
So they're all treated that way. But this individual is really well-known, and I had to sign NDAs, so I'm not going to tell you. But and then I was showing to people who made me sign other NDAs, and it was a $9 million secret listing, and I could share it with certain agents. And I know this individual, and I worked with them in another capacity at one time. And it was just, I was sitting there waiting for my next appointment. I'm like, this is pretty amazing. Like, this is really cool. Like, I love that, because at the core, I'm just a guy. I was raised in Virginia and North Carolina and Georgia, because we moved a lot. But I just love it. And I'm never done. I don't feel like, I have heroes in this business that I look up to, like, gosh, they make me look lazy. Like, they're killing.
Well, I don't know about, again, it's such a dynamic market, and you have pieces of real estate there that are astronomical in terms of what they sell for. And then as a realtor, you get the cut of that, obviously. Right. So, but I want to share with the audience, one
story about you're never ready. Can we?
Well, that's what. Yeah, the spontaneity thing keeps coming up, and I think that's important. Yeah,
right. I was in a shared Uber. It was called Via at the time, but you guys will know it as a shared Uber. And because I'm cheap, like I wanted to share a ride, it was cheaper. So, and I'm hanging out, and I for whatever reason the headphones were out, and I was just hanging out. And this lady gets in, and I hear her speaking French. I start talking. I lived in France as a kid. I was an exchange student, so use what you got, right? So we're talking, we're just enjoying it, this and that, and have the ride. And then she gets out with her little dog, and we're just talking. And she's American, so we switch back into English. And she's like, hey, what do you do? And I said, I sell real estate all over the city. She goes, could you go meet my friend? I said, sure. they're having trouble selling their place. They really want to sell it. I said, well, how do we connect? And we got her address. And she connected me. 1 hour later, I'm in an apartment. I mean, guys, I couldn't believe it. It was on the 77th floor of one of those big, tall towers that I just always looked up to and never, ever went in. And I, went home, put on a better outfit, and had my associate come over and bring me like all this data. Like, boom, boom, boom. I go in. There's a butler, but not the kind of butler that's, but like this bearded guy. It was a very cool looking guy from England. Pours me a glass of wine. Like, I'm like, I didn't ask for wine. And I took a sip and I was like, oh my God, this is like the best wine I've ever had in my life. Like, this is the word wine. I don't even know what the hell I drank before. And the views were stupid good. And I decided right there, well, if nothing comes of this, I still got this moment. So I'm seated, and the owner comes out. Really great guy. Just hit it off, talked about everything under the sun. He said, you think you can sell this for me? I said, I do. And if I had said, I'm really not ready. I've never done anything like this. And I knew what his other asking price was. And I said, I think I can sell this north of 40 million. As I drank my good wine. And he's like, well, if you can do that, let's go. And so we did. And I did. And it sold for 42 million. And that was my biggest sale ever. And it won't be my biggest today. It won't be my biggest forever, but it will. It was my favorite. It wasn't the price. It was like, hey, you know what? I'm ready for this. I'm ready. Let's go. I've done all the stuff. I've done the groundwork for this. I know how to connect with people. I know what I'm doing. I can market. I love marketing. I can get it out there. I can make it look good. I can do all the stuff. Let's go. I can do it. So I did not have imposter syndrome, as I sometimes get, which is not unusual. I just went for it. And literally all those teachers, all those mentors, all my relatives, dead and alive, are right there with me. I believe that. I believe I'm right there with them. And they're like, you're on the cutting edge. Make us look good. Let's go. And I like that. I like that feeling. I had it again today in the room, and we're going to get an offer on that place, that $9 million place. It's the people connection, I think, that I like the most.
Well, I should say, too, if folks watching this, and if there's people in your network, Brian, that get a chance to see this, they know you for the videos that you produce for properties that you sell in New York. You've really developed that into a kind of an art form in terms of.
I love that. I love it.
Well, and you've gotten a lot of notoriety through some pretty major press publications about how you do that and how you present people's property, and you obviously have so much fun doing it, and you can see how much you enjoy it, but it ultimately helps the customer. So I want you to, if you can, speak about you're one person. You move a lot of properties every year in New York, more than most brokers, actually, just the sheer number of properties, which is impressive in and of itself. But you do have a team, right? And you've had different types of teams over the years. So talk to us a little bit about what it was like to know I'm my own leader and I have this awareness and I have this hustle, but I need people to help me build my business and grow my business. And how do I lead those people as part of my team?
Sure. I have a fatal flaw.
Okay.
Called I like to be liked. It's what it is. I'm a second child, whatever. I like to be liked. And when I'm not liked, to make it my mission to make you like me. That's a bad quality. There's just go on and on. We could talk about that forever. Right. But I do enjoy that. I used to find more currency in it, but as I grow, I don't not care about what people think. I'm not that evolved.
Right.
And I don't think I'm an asshole. So excuse me, can I say that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I don't think I'm a jerk. So I do care. I have an awareness, and I'm in sales, guys. So we find the place we can all be happy in sales. So I sometimes as a leader fail because I want to be liked and understood. And I'm trying to find my voice in that kind of truth. And I'm getting better at it. And I learned that, when you're delegating, first of all, don't delegate anything you can't do well. If you don't know how to do it, you can't expect anyone else to do it. So make sure you have mastered it or gotten really good at it, and then share that with somebody and let them excel at it. If it saves you time and gives them purpose and makes them money and it ultimately helps your productivity. I like the people around me to be likable, but I also like them to be effective. But really, in the past, since we talked last fall, even in the past couple of months, I'm kind of proud of what I'm doing. I say, look, this is linear work. The rules are, I love you, you love me, we respect each other, and nobody here wants to fail. So that's the ground rules. But this needs to be improved. This is linear work. It must be done. And if it's something that you can't achieve, then we have to sit down and talk about your role here and really about your purpose, because I need these things done. And if
So
it's unachievable,
you're talking about your team now that you've got in place, right?
Try to make that clear.
Yeah.
Yes, as a leader, because I like to be out there in the business of still showing, doing, engaging people. Today was an amazing day because I had a lot of those encounters, and
that's where you draw energy. But you're also very specific about how you like things done. You have a brand and you have a way that you expect to deliver for your clients, and your clients come to you because they expect that level of delivery, right? So when you bring people into your business, you have to define what that is, and then to your point, say, this needs to get done. Are you in the right seat, right, to do this?
Right. And I must say, I'm inspired a lot by biographies. So I enjoy finding a biography of someone I admire, or even someone that I'm like, I want to know more. And being out in the world a lot, I listen to a lot of audiobooks because I run around the city all day. And I guess where you guys are, you're in the car all day, right? So I like to do that. And I'm finishing one, I did one on Kissinger, and now I've got Isaacson's new book going. I've got a couple hours left of the Elon Musk book. And there's, say what you will, polarizing character, a brilliant madman. Don't know him, don't even know if we'd be friends. But I can tell you that and maybe it's based in what he defines as his own struggles, which is I think Asperger's is the word, maybe. But the long and short is he just says it and gets it done. And I'm not that clear, but I think I can put my voice in that energy a little bit, and it's helpful actually. Or when you read a book about, or hear a book or whatever about someone famous or not, about a life and how they went through something, that's just so helpful to me. It's real. It's not theoretical. This is someone's life told through a filter of a book, but it's still, I get a lot of nuggets from things like that.
But you're also alluding to something, Brian, that we've talked about pretty extensively off camera, and I would love for you to dip into just a little bit, and that is the role of a great real estate broker. There's also part of a counselor, therapist, psychologist, whatever you want to call it. So again, if I'm a real estate person listening to this, and I know you've talked about this at different speeches and conferences and things like that, how do you explain that part of the relationship with the client?
Well, the first thing I'll say is, if you don't like people, get out of this business.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of like the connectivity of people. Although my friend Sue, who I've mentioned before, famously doesn't like people. It works.
Well, but I mean, right. Helps if you can be an extrovert, right? Especially if you're on the show side of it, right? There's probably roles for introverts, but I get your point, right?
Yeah, there really are. And there's good introverts that act extroverted. So that's a fascinating little mix. Yeah. But I connecting with people is really important. I just came from a meeting with a man who I knew when he was married, tried to sell their place. There was a disconnect in what they thought it would get. This was years ago. Their kid was young, and something was amiss. And I realized they were having friction, their relationship. So I became friendly with both of them because I like that. I am Switzerland. I don't take sides at all, ever. I just don't. I don't like that. I'm a middle child. The truth's always in the middle. I live there. And nothing extreme for me. And they, she found her place. He stayed on. I just came from his big penthouse apartment, literally just came from there. And he's like, thinking I might list it. And I just hung in there with them. So just connecting with them, listening to some some vitriol from both sides, taking no sides, just letting people be human and being patient. I've learned that that goes really far, just being there. And, sometimes with the split, when you are marketing for somebody, or even there's something traumatic going on in their life, it doesn't have to even be as traumatic as a divorce. It can be as exciting as a baby coming or a marriage. Those are also those moments. Life is messy, right? Let's face
Oh
it.
yeah. Yep.
Emotions are messy, and they're our barometers. They're not always the best barometers, but they're there. We feel them. So we have to feel things. Even when I'm dealing with the most brilliant type A Wall Street analytical man or woman, you get them in a room and their heart melts, and then one is not on the same page as the other. And you try to, I don't have to tell anybody here who's in sales. You find it, right? And you can't sell it. You can't convince anyone of anything. You can just be a Sherpa. Is that the right word? Be a GPS. I always tell people, I'm going to tell you to turn right because it might be the most efficient route. If you take a left, I'm not going to get mad. I'm going to get you there. Your GPS doesn't get angry at you.
Right.
If you ignore it.
Yeah.
No. But I'll get you there. And I play a long game.
I was going to say long game and a lot of patience.
For sure.
Yeah.
There was a New York Times article, Dan, years ago when I was relatively new, called "My Agent, My Therapist," and it was the whole half page above the fold on the real estate section, and my big old head was on it, and it was a really cool piece, and I know now, and now I'm really ready for that article, but I was a lot cuter then. That's why I made the cover. But it is true. You have to understand, and I'm a hand holder, like to be liked, so I'm a natural confidant. People like to do that with me, and I keep confidence. I take that very seriously.
Yeah.
I try to be a man of my word. I try to be on time. I can work on that, and I've gotten better. And show up, man. I mean, show up. It's 90. What do they say? 90% of the deal. Yeah. Show up.
For someone to keep us moving. But the other thing I like to ask people about is accountability. Okay. So you have this awareness and you understand what your strengths and your weaknesses are. And then you bring to it, the style, and that you've talked about. How do you hold yourself accountable, and how do you hold people that work with you accountable?
Oh boy, I'm hard on myself. Even if I miss a workout, I'm hard on myself.
Right.
And that's okay if it can be productive. I think that's fine. I don't do it so much. I'm not so hard on myself that I don't get over things. I allow myself to feel a disappointment for a while, a deal I didn't get or something. And I go, how did I fail that? And I look for accountability. How did I do that? Why didn't I get that? Why did they hire that person and not me? And then I find out they didn't even know I was in the business. Boy, that's a failure right there. That's my failure. If I didn't let someone in our circle at least remotely know, and no one wants to be sold, right? My kids' friends' parents don't want to be sold, but they see my things. They see it out there. They see ads and stuff. And if they don't use me, maybe they just don't want to use someone that close to their circle. So I let go of that. You bitch and moan about it for a minute and move on.
Right.
But I do let myself feel it for a minute, and then I get back up. It's I ride horses too, and literally it's the old cliche. When you fall off, feel it, dust yourself off, and get back on.
But there's some radical self-acceptance there of the failure, right? To be able to, again, be spontaneous, to face it in the moment, try to learn from it, and then, like you just said, get up and keep moving.
I just don't get too deep in the mud. I have my dark moments. I'm not. Please. I am human. I'm a sinner. I'm just a person that fucks up. Excuse me. But I do my best every day to make it better. And that's in my relationships, my health, my outlook. I do my very best. I'm imperfect at all of it. I try to do it through humor and compassion and love and all the things.
Yeah.
Try, right? But there are times when you want to shut the door and curse or yell in the pillow or hit something. And that's okay. We're mortal. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, and you and I talk about this a lot as friends. I know how hard you work to continue to build your business and to move the amount of properties you move, and the expectations you set for yourself and trying to balance that with family and other responsibilities. So, that's work. That's continuing work once you get to a level of success and you continue to set the bar for yourself. But the last two questions I ask people, this is kind of a great segue of what we've been talking about, are broader, but I'd love to hear your answer. Like, where do you feel the most vulnerable, right? In kind of your professional or personal or both of those things. And then what are you hopeful about with all that's going on in this crazy world right now?
Most vulnerable. It's weird. I've noticed a thing. I'm most vulnerable when I'm on vacation.
Ah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yes, because I'm not surrounded by my systems so much. I mean, you do have your phone, right? And I try
Right.
to turn it off. When you don't have your titles and your identities, when you don't have your purpose and your role. I mean, you have your family.
Sure.
I'm dad to my daughters, my
Yeah.
spouse.
Right.
I have my identity and those roles, and I get to use those. I mean, I enjoy those so much, and that ties into my hope answer. But I really think on vacation, I almost I think of myself as an athlete in the way I
Mhm.
train and do and approach things and get up and go and let's go and set a new goal. I really like that. But when that platform is gone, even though I crave it, like I think, oh, that'll be fun to be there for 2 weeks. I'm like,
Mhm.
God, let's go. Who am I?
So, well, that's interesting. So it's not so much workaholism
Hmm.
or being able to turn it off. It's the who am I when I'm not in my lane, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And I think this is not unusual for certain people. I know that certain people can't retire because they're like,
Right.
well, now what? Right.
Right.
So, but I'm getting better at that. I'll take a great book that I want to read. I just have to be stimulated. I can't just veg. Even though I like to think that will be nice, I I need some sort of like, okay, well, let's try that activity. Let's jet ski. Let's
Right.
climb something. Let's try to do something better because if I spend too much time, I get in my head.
Yeah.
And I just find that sometimes the things we tell ourselves in our head, especially when we're out of our safe zones,
Yeah.
it's
Well, I mean, that's a personality component.
garbage.
Yeah, 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 no, absolutely. But
It,
that's a personality component, of you're a high sensation seeker. Basically, that's how you're wired, right? You're an extrovert. You're probably extreme extrovert, like I am. So, but that's a good awareness. And I keep pushing you on that too. Of like, you gotta take care of yourself to feed the engine, right? You gotta be able to step off the treadmill at a certain point and appreciate all that you've accomplished at the same time having the discipline to keep going, right? So,
this morning on the couch in
right.
that NDA person's apartment,
Yeah.
I took it in. Hey guys, taking it in, you don't need a week to do that. You can do
Right.
5 minutes.
Right.
Sometimes,
Right.
and just taking in this moment with you
Yeah.
and being grateful for that, appreciation of that. I love it. I love all that. I love seeing our friends who we know who have become famous, this or that. I love that. I love to celebrate that. I love talented people doing what they do well. Again, from the barista to the butcher to a preschool teacher to a cab driver. If
And,
somebody's in their zone doing it well, I love it.
yeah.
And
And
that, I think, gives me hope. That those moments, and I see them in New York so much. There's so many rich encounters that I have in an hour here that's why I love the city. It's crazy, it's big, it's dirty, it's all that. But there's so much humanity in your face here all the time. And I love that. I find hope in that. I find hope on the subway train, uh, just looking around and seeing who else is out there doing it and grinding and trying to make something happen. I find hope in my kids, my daughter's eyes. Um, when my daughter Daisy said this morning, I stayed up last night making her a vocabulary quiz, like I was some like test creator. It was fun. It was
mhm,
11:30 at night,
mhm.
so I'd have it by the morning, and I had a deadline on something else. But I was like, I'm going to enjoy this. I made this quiz, and we hole punched it this morning and put it in her binder. And she said, "Thank you, Daddy."
Right.
I'm like, oh my god, that's like a $42 million sale right
That's
there.
right.
That's the things I know. Those are the things you will take with you. And you know, those people that say, it's not your resume, it's your obituary, right?
Mm.
Um, yeah, I need to work on that. I need.
No.
I,
You said it beautifully, and I appreciate you articulating that, because I try to share with people what it's like living in New York if they've never done that. And what you just said pretty much captures it. And that's what I miss about being there. You know, I've made choices to live different cities over the years for different reasons, but that whole sense of opportunity, that whole um, humanity in your face, that appreciation for different people's journeys, right? And you and I are a great example of this. I mean, at 17 and 19, we had no idea we would be where each of us are at this time and have the family we have and have the experiences we have. But, you know, what I'm most grateful for and hopeful for is our continued friendship, as you know very well.
yeah.
And I am so proud of you for all you've accomplished in your career and your life, you know, because I've seen it every step of the way. So we could talk for another hour. I know I'm gonna close this out here, but I appreciate you making.
Say something, Dan. You're a teacher. My Jewish friends say rabbi.
Mhm.
My Muslim friends, imam, I think is the word. I
Mhm.
don't know. And my Catholic friends say priest, and we in the Protestant tradition say minister. So
Mhm.
you minister people. You always have. So you are in a way a just an awesome teacher, priest, brother, friend. So you're one of the finest people I've ever met,
Well,
and I love your brain, and more, I love your soul.
well, I
Um,
appreciate that. And
yeah,
this is, you know, it's a great way to end, because this is what I'm trying to do with this work, Brian, is take all these experiences that I've had as the oldest child, as the designated driver, as the director, as all those things over the years, and everything that I've synthesized, and bring this to people in this process that I put together called The Invisible Obvious, you know, that calls on the best people in the business. I'm not inventing brand new ideas. I'm pulling ideas that exist together, and I'm systemizing them in a way that I think are going to be very helpful to people to make them better people, better leaders, better humans, you know, all those kinds of things. So this is a space I've wanted to be in, and I want to get in more full time, and looking for people that want to do this work together, because it'll be gratifying to me, really super aligned for who I am and what I want to offer the world. And I think it'll be helpful to other folks. So again, appreciate it.
well, it's helpful to this folk right
All
here.
right.
So
All right, my dear friend. Well, again,
thank you, my friend.
thank you for making all the time.
Good
And
luck with all this. It's fantastic.
thank you. Appreciate it. Be well. Okay.
Yeah, you too. Bye.